Hi there, I'm Harvey Steele and you're listening to Adversity, a unique podcast that aims to show you how adversity is the key ingredient to success. I'll be joined by current and ex-professional sportsmen and women who have all suffered adversity in their career, but found their way through it, going on to achieve great success. Hello there, I hope you're well. Thank you for joining me for the first episode of Adversity. Today's guest, Luke Hannant, is a current professional footballer playing for League 2 title challengers Cambridge United. Luke's been on a different journey to most professional footballers. His route back into the game has shaped who he is today. His journey taught him life lessons, values, and reignited his confidence, a trait that runs right through him today. I can't wait for you to hear more about his journey through adversity. Just how good is being a professional footballer? Obviously, we'll get on to your adversity in a minute, but you got, the dream job?
I think so, mate. Yeah. It's obviously something that I always dreamt of doing. It was football around in my family as well. My dad played semi-professional football. My granddad played semi-professional football and then went on to referee at like a professional level as well. So I was always brought up in like a footballing family, and it was just something that I've always wanted to do ever since I was young. I had my first pair of boots when I was like 4 or 5 years old. So yeah, I'm in a privileged position right now to be a professional footballer. But yeah, it's been my dream ever since a young boy.
Yeah, every boy's dream. And obviously, like I keep saying, like the adversity you have faced to still get where you've got is like hats off to you. The first real setback you faced was obviously being released by Norwich. Was that age 14, around that age?
Yeah, so I got released at 14. Basically, in the running up to getting released, there was a few rumours that like certain boys were going to get kept on and certain boys were going to get released, and I was in that release bracket, and it was just waiting to get the decision, really. Like, I think I knew myself that I wasn't going to be progressing through to the next stage at that age. Other lads were getting played a year up at that stage of like their careers, and you could just tell that the club wasn't really bothered about progressing myself as a player anymore into that club. So I kind of knew the decision was coming, so it didn't hit me as hard as what I thought it was going to hit me. So I was quite fortunate enough to have options in place for when the decision came round. Really, I had different gateways into where I could go into future teams and stuff. But if I'm totally honest, it was disappointing because I'd made a lot of friends at that club, coaches included. So it was kind of sad to know that I was leaving that part of me behind, being at the club since I was like 8 years old. And I basically played with the same group of lads for the duration of that period as well. So met some good friends there. And it was kind of sad to try and let that go. But I also knew that it wasn't going to help me progress as a footballer staying where I was, because I wouldn't have had the opportunities that the other lads would probably get, and I'd not had much game time, etc. So it had pros and cons at that age. And like you say, I don't think I was old enough to really have the situations go on where I'd have to like deal with a setback, or if it was like, for example, now if you get released, there's a lot more things to think about in life. Whereas if you're only 14 years old, like, you're still young, you're at school and you haven't got any worries at all, really.
Yeah, just got that mindset. You just go again. It's just one of them things. But obviously, it must have been like a little bit tough because obviously, you say you like knew the decision was coming, kind of thing. Like I got a feeling when I was at Cambridge, you just get a feeling, and obviously that does make the release a little bit easier to take. But obviously, away from that, like with your friends and things like that, that must have been difficult because everyone's known you being at Norwich and like Norwich, Championship, Prem, like big club, and
Yeah.
you're coming away from it, and now everyone's kind of thinking, oh, I don't play for Norwich anymore.
No, mate, you nailed it on the head, mate. That's exactly one of my thoughts, to be fair, as well. Like, especially around my area, like Norwich isn't a massive area, so we're not really recruiting a lot of people at that time from that area. So it's basically the best person or the best young player in that village or town will get taken into the academy. So you're kind of known in that area for being the best young footballer in that area. But like you say, being released, and especially at school as well, when people know that I was at Norwich City for so long and I won't be getting a new contract and stuff, like, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't feel like, I don't know, I'd let myself down or a little bit embarrassed that I've come, or I've been released from such a big club and I've been there for so many years. It just seemed like everyone expected me to go further in that team than what I did. And yeah, it was a bit of a setback, like you say. And it did bring back some memories, you actually mentioning that, because like I can just remember going into school and my mates were just like, oh, he's not at Norwich anymore. And I had a few people in the year above me or the year above that used to like tease me and torment me about like being released and stuff and saying like, oh, he's not very good at football anymore, blah, blah, blah. But at that age, it didn't really affect me. I think maybe if it had come like 16, 17, then it would have affected me a bit more. But 14, I was still hungry and had that love for the game where I just wanted to prove people wrong, etc. But yeah, I totally agree with what you say about being released and having that expectation from other people and stuff. Yes, it can affect you.
Yeah, no, I find that, obviously I'm a few years older than what you were at the time, but find it now, like I'm working in Sainsbury's with like people that I went to school with, and like people at school would always view me as like he's football, he plays football, he plays for Cambridge, blah blah. And then now I'm like working with them, I'm kind of like, do you know what I mean, a bit like embarrassed. It's just one of them. And then people, people talk, people say stuff. You're just like, it's just one of them things you kind of just got to take on the chin. And obviously you were young enough to kind of just take it in your stride and keep going. You also talked about like afterwards you had like options for after Norwich that had, I don't know how they'd got put in place or what, but what were they? Were you going on trial with other teams or?
Yeah, so I had trials set up. Back then, I don't think there wasn't like exit trials and stuff at that age. It was quite hard to get into, but I'd already spoken to Cambridge United just because I had one of my friends, Jackson Ram, was actually with Cambridge United when he got released from Norwich, and he played a year above me at Norwich, so I knew him pretty well. And I had like people leave Norwich to go to Cambridge, so it was kind of like a what do you call it, mate? Like a club that would just, you get a lot of players from Norwich go down to Cambridge basically, because it was the local club that wasn't at that level but still produced good players. So I basically met with Jez George and stuff, and he invited me down to have trials, and it was pretty much as soon as the season finished, really, like they had exit trials, and I was down to Cambridge. You should travel down there a couple of times, and at that time, Cambridge was probably the only team that I was set to join, because I went there and instantly enjoyed it. Like I didn't have a chance to go anywhere else because my mindset was just, I'm enjoying it at Cambridge. I went there for one trial, enjoyed it, went back for another, and then I think on the third one, they offered me a contract for like the under 16 squad. So I really enjoyed it. I was quite surprised that how quick I come to like enjoy being around that environment of Cambridge United, when coming, no disrespect to Cambridge, but when you've come from a big club like Norwich and you go to Cambridge, like there's a lot.
I get what you mean. It's a difference in it. You in facilities, in like quality of opponent, like the lot.
Yeah.
I see it with some of the boys who I did a scholar with, and they like come from Spurs, and they just could never get their head around coming from Spurs to Cambridge because the difference is just so big, and like that Spurs kind of spoon fed in that. But did you
100%.
did you enjoy like kind of being out on your own feet and kind of things being a bit more like you've got to make your chance in that?
Yeah, 100%. I think it humbled me as well. Like, not saying that I was big-headed or anything before, because I've never been that person, but I knew that I was coming into Cambridge United as being a player that maybe come from a bigger team, for example. So I wanted to prove to everyone that I was still good enough to play at that level, but I never took advantage of the situation. I was never big-headed. I tried to go in and work hard each day. I wanted to go in and make people around me better as well, and try and get everyone to the level that we all wanted to get at. So I found it quite humbling as well, and it was nice to go and put myself in that situation, being released from a big club. And I think it found, even though I was like 14, 15, I still found quite a lot out about myself, how well I dealt with the situation as well, and not let it affect me, because leaving Norwich and then joining Cambridge during that under 16 period, probably played my best football. Like, I didn't play with any pressure. I enjoyed it. I met some good friends there. A couple of boys come from Norwich that joined our under 16s team as well, so it was nice to play with them as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I probably excelled at the under 16 level at Cambridge.
That must have just like made you feel a bit more stable in that. Obviously, you know, you said you had a couple lads there from Norwich and you'd gone there, and the chances are you're probably a good level, probably above some of the boys that are already there. Obviously, that must have done your confidence good. You're putting in good performances. You didn't feel like you had any pressure on you. That must have just kind of getting to the end of that period of being released and then joining Cambridge. That must have just stabled you out and kind of just made you feel a lot better about the whole situation.
Yeah, exactly. I towards the end of my Norwich career, I was just low in confidence. Like, my family could see it as well. Like, I'd come home from games, they'd be like, "What? Why are you not taking people on? Why are you not trying this pass? You don't look like you're enjoying it. You're running around like with your head down a little bit." I was almost scared to make mistakes, because there was so much pressure on young lads at that age at big academies to do well. And like you say, there's only one or two from each age group that actually progressed on. So if you're not excelling at that age from a young age group, then chances are you're going to be released. So I was probably putting too much pressure on myself, and I had a lot of expectations as well. But like I say, going into Cambridge United, where no one knew me, I was able to rekindle my love for football. I was a lot more confident. There was not as much pressure on me to do well. Even though I've come from a bigger club, the lads and the coaches made it really comfortable for me to come and join a team, and not make me feel like, oh, he's come from Norwich, so he needs to be this player, blah, blah, blah. They let me settle in and kind of let me do my own thing, which helped myself and the team do really well. And we had a really good team at that age group. We had a couple of good FA Cup runs as well, getting into obviously the under 18s bit, but like that under 16 group was a really strong age group, and that probably helped me a lot as well. Obviously, having a couple of lads in from Norwich and stuff, and people that I knew from around the area, but that transition from Norwich to Cambridge made me enjoy my football and made me confident as a person as well. So that really helped.
Yeah. And then when in the under 16 season you got your scholar then?
Yeah, so I got, in my under 16 season, I got offered my scholar like a year early. So I was 15, I think, when I got offered it. And then that enabled me to go in every Monday and do like day release, a year earlier than what I would have done. But yeah, I was really happy to get that. I thought like I deserved it as well. I'd worked really hard, and it was quite a humbling experience knowing that I'd been released from a big club to now be respected at another club and be able to be as confident as I was going forward with that club. So I made a good situation out of a bad situation.
Yeah,
like
yeah, for sure. And then your scholar, how was your scholar? Obviously, I guess it would have been a lot different to what my scholar was. Just like last couple of years. How was that for you? How did you transition into like playing football like a couple times a week, a game on a Saturday, to like everyday training and things like that?
Yeah, well, it was really exciting actually. I actually roomed with a lad that was my best friend and still is my best friend now. When we first went down there, we stayed in digs. We had 3 houses all attached to each other, just full of all the boys. So it was like I've never moved away from home before, and I've been thrown into a house with all the lads in my team. Pretty much only had one person come in, adult wise, and that was the cook, like once a day or twice a day to come in and to do a bit of a clean and stuff. But going in from training twice a week to every day was just that's all I wanted to do. Like I wanted to do that anyway. I didn't, no disrespect to like being at school and that, but I got good grades, but I wasn't the most academically talented person in the world. All I wanted to do was play football. So getting to do that every day was just a massive achievement for me, and I really loved it. Like going in every day, running, doing all the rubbish, boring bits that no one liked. At that age, I was just young and hungry, and just couldn't wait to do it all, really. But that time in my life, going into that situation where I've never moved away from home before, I think that's where a few of my problems occurred at that age, which probably stopped me progressing at that age through the ranks to get my first professional contract.
Yeah. Would you say like you didn't have someone almost guiding you? I think if everyone had a player, in their first year that took them through their first year, or a person, sorry, that took them through their first year, just gave them a bit of guidance, one to one, I think all people would benefit from it. But would you say you like missed out on that? Would you say if you had someone like that, you would have maybe gone on and progressed?
Yeah, I think so. Back when I was a scholar, it was probably more old school than it is now. To be fair, the coach was quite hard on us. To be fair, he wanted us to work hard every day, and probably didn't give us the support that we needed as young adults or young footballers trying to progress in our careers. I totally agree with what you say. I think if we were able to have someone to support us at that age, especially myself, I would have probably, well, I don't know where I'd have been. Hopefully, I'd have progressed further than what I did, but I was probably too immature at that age, and just got caught up in the whole moment of moving away from home and being in a house with all the boys and stuff. And I think that was down to myself as well, not being switched on and not being mature enough at that age to deal with all the pressure and the opportunities that I had. But like I said, I totally agree with what you say. I think if people were to have mentors or just someone that they could speak to, or someone like maybe, I don't know, maybe a first team player that's gone through it all, like, and had a lot of experience, just to speak to them and just see how they can guide you through being a scholar, because it's still affecting people now. Like a lot of young players are having to move away from home and live away from home for the first time, and no one really knows how to deal with it. So I think it'd be good to have someone who's been there and done it all and excelled and had a good career, just to have a chat with, just to see if they can help them through that period.
Yeah, for sure. I think that is something that, I mean, I saw it with boys in my age group, and like for myself, I didn't know the opportunities. I mean, I lived at home, but there was boys who moved into digs and, like you say, get carried away and kind of you kind of out on your own 2 feet, and you're probably not mature enough to kind of understand like what you need to be doing and the life you need to be living at that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can totally see where you're coming from. So yeah, you come to the end of your scholarship. Obviously, you get that news. How did you respond to it? How did you expect it? How did you take it?
To be honest, I took this one a lot worse than probably what I thought I would take it at the time. So there's a lot of situations. Well, I say a lot. There was 2 situations that probably didn't help towards my case of progressing as a professional footballer at that age. Even though I was playing in first team games in pre-season in my second year scholar, like I was doing pre-season with them, etc. Really enjoying my football side. Football side was never a problem. It was probably the off the pitch stuff, like you say, getting carried away, doing silly things that young people do at that age, and that probably affected the decision more than the football side. But it was quite hard because obviously I had nothing set up afterwards. I, like yourself, I got released, and then I went to start work at Tesco, and I was there doing 6 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, 5 days a week. I then joined a semi-professional team, Dereham Town. I was training there twice a week, playing on a Saturday. So some days I would be doing 6 till 2, driving home, having a sleep, having a pre-match on the way to a game, and then playing my game. So it wasn't ideal, but I was 18 at that age. didn't know what else to do. I could say there was a lot of emotions really, because I felt like I'd let a lot of people down as well, coming from an all football family. All my friends as well like knew me as the footballer in the group, if you like. And now I'm working at Tesco's. That's no disrespect to anyone that works there, by the way, because I know a lot of nice people that I've worked there with, and they're hardworking people, and that probably helped me as well, because it helped me saw another side to football. Like there is another life other than football, and that probably helped me a lot more to go and be put into that situation, because it made me a lot more hungry going into, like, when I progressed into university and whatnot. Like, I was more hungry to prove people wrong, and it probably took me about, I don't know, a good 3 or 4 months, where I was just stressing. Like, my mum could see I was in a pretty bad place. Like, I was just down, wasn't myself. Like, I'm normally a cheeky, chappy, bubbly person who just wants to smile all the time and stuff, and that wasn't the person who I was. So yeah, I saw it as throwing away a massive opportunity that I'd done for my whole life. And then I just got through into the world with nothing other than a BTEC, which I then obviously used to go to university with. But yeah, that transition of being released to then having absolutely nothing on your doorstep is a hard one. And I was down the job centre as well, looking for jobs at that age, just to try and get some income to try and get my way through life. So yeah. I can totally understand where people are in that situation, and I can totally feel the emotions they do as well. And it is a hard one, to be fair.
Did you find yourself caught up in just football? Did you feel that football was just it? Was it just football for you? Because it was for me, and only when I realised that I need to have something other than football did I actually feel better about then my decision later on, because then I felt like I had something. But at that time, it sounds like you didn't really know anything else other than football.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Like, I had my mind totally set on being a professional footballer. Like, I didn't think of anything else. Like, I still concentrated in school, got my good grades, whatnot, but that wasn't an importance to my life. All my focus was on it was football. And like I say, even in my second year, when I was doing well, I didn't think that I'd get released for my footballing ability. Like, there was games where obviously I was low in confidence and stuff, and that played a big factor towards the end. Like I said, that I could see traits in myself where before I got released from Norwich, I could see them same traits in myself when I got released from Cambridge. So I started to become unconfident. I wasn't able to express myself. I wasn't dealing with my mistakes well. So I'd let the stress of, I don't know, I wouldn't be able to deal with making mistakes. So I would just put more stress on myself, and it would just make me worse as a player. My performances weren't good. And yeah, I just felt like I was in that same position.
Yeah, just a circle of like what you've seen at Norwich, now you're seeing at Cambridge, of all the same things.
But that's why, like I said, I wasn't at that age. I wasn't really too bothered, because I knew I still had years to do something with. But now I'm at 18 years old, and I'm in that same situation again. And now I'm thinking, shit, I don't have anything, because all I focused on was football. And now I spent like a good 2 or 3 weeks after that thinking, like, I was around the house, and my mum was like, look, you're going to need to go out and get a job. Like, luckily enough, I got back into football straight away, because Deerham were in the same league as CRC at that time. So they saw me play and they wanted to sign me up. But that was only for like, I don't even know, it was like 50, 60 pounds a game or something like that. And that wasn't going to help me get through life at that age. Like, I needed a job. And because I've been in football for so long, I had no gateway into going into like a university or anything straight away, because they'd already started their year.
That period where you come out of football, Cambridge, you signed at Deerham, you got your job in Tesco's. Like, was that period like way harder than you could have ever expected?
I think so, yeah. I had to go for a job interview for the Tesco job, and I've never done a job interview before in my life. So when I get put into situations where I haven't experienced it before, I don't feel confident at all. and I had to stand up in front of like a few people. It wasn't even a big interview. It was just like a group of us, and stand up and like read a few things about ourselves and why we're there, etc. And like, mate, I was so quiet. Like my whole persona about myself was just quiet. Like I looked shy, and that's not the person I am. And the fact that I've had to come to a job interview at Tesco and I'm not playing football, I was still trying to get into that transition of not being in that environment anymore. And this is the reality now. Like I am where I am. So I need to try and get myself back on my feet and do something with my life before it's too late. And at that time, I was working like 5 days a week at Tesco, and so I was still playing my football and enjoying it and stuff. But that wasn't where I wanted to be in life. That was just a stepping stone, and that I've never really had any ambitions of going into university either. But I made the decision to go into university because I wanted to try and better myself and give myself a different pathway into life, and not be in a situation of uncertainty and not know what or where I'm going with my life. And it was a really hard period. Like it was hard to switch off, because looking back now, it was hard to switch off from being the footballer Luke to now being the Tesco worker Luke. Like it was hard to switch off.
Yeah, I completely get that. Where was your head at football wise?
It was like part-time football training, like Tuesday and Thursday. Obviously playing in the same league as CRC. It was the Regions Prem then, so I joined the team knowing a few lads that used to be at Norwich and that, and I really enjoyed it. Like it wasn't like it was like my first men's team that I've been in, really, because obviously being in the under 18s, it was just like 16, 17, 18-year-olds. So I was this 18-year-old going into a men's team, and you know what it's like when you go into a team where they work all day and they're semi-pro. Like it's a bit more lively, and I think that made me a stronger person going into that environment where I was this young lad going into a new team full of grown men, where you need to kind of have a bit about yourself, because if not, you're going to get bantered being the new lads, like the younger lad in the team coming in. And I think they appreciated that I had a bit about myself and that I was confident enough to come in and maybe give a bit of banter back and stuff. And I think that helped gain the respect of them and the managers. And that in that period that I was there, I was probably there like 18 months in total, like when I was coming back from uni sometimes and playing. I really enjoyed it. We won the league as well. And that, I almost felt like I've come from a negative again into a positive in my football, where I'm enjoying it and I've gained my confidence back. I'm surrounding myself with good people. There's no pressure on me at all, and I'm playing really good football again. So I was in that cycle again of enjoying it, being confident. It was just struggling to maintain that and cement them feelings into my sport, and that's probably why I wasn't able to be a professional at that age or that level.
Yeah. Did you think you were gonna climb back up the ladder? Obviously, I still like maintain the hope and the desire that I do go back up the ladder. But when you do drop down, and like I said earlier about seeing the picture of climbing back up, it's a hard one to see when you see the way football is. But did you see yourself climbing back up that ladder?
Yeah, I think at that time, at that 18, 19-year-old age, I can't even lie to you. Like I in my head, I thought all my opportunities and all my chances to be a professional footballer had gone. Like I wasn't even thinking about doing it at a professional level. I was just trying to enjoy it and just enjoy it while I can, really, at that age. With surround myself with people that were going to allow me to be confident and enjoy my football as well, and just probably play for the fun of the football more so than the professional side of it. So I think you're right in saying that I wasn't thinking of being a professional at that age, and I took the route of being a university student, and throw myself into another unknown situation where I was going to have to do something outside my comfort zone again. But I wanted to test myself and see if I could go down that route of getting a degree and put myself into situations where it would make me more confident as a person outside of football as well as inside of football. And I think going to university was probably the best decision of my life. The 3 years that I spent up in Newcastle with the people that I met allowed me probably to be where I am now. Like all the life experiences, the confidence that I've gained, the knowledge of football and the ins and outs and what not to let yourself get down about, and how to deal with situations. Now I was probably more equipped at that age than I was ever at 17, 18. Like I was going to live with 5 people that I'd never met before. Don't know where they come from, how old they were, whatever. But it was a situation that I wanted to put myself in. And I was only 19, mate. Like, if you look at footballers now coming in to signing their professional deals, you've got people signing deals at 23, 24, because teams are looking for that experience and, don't know, like life. It's not just about your football career as well. They want to know that you've been there and you've done it, and you're coming in as a confident player, as a character. They look to see what you are as that kind of person as well, because you're coming into their football team, their organisation, and they want a good egg. They don't want someone that's just going to come and turn up and just be a bit of a nightmare. Do you know what I mean? But honestly, mate, cooking, cleaning, anything that you're going to experience, mate, that will all set you up for life, mate. Honestly, it will be the best 3 years of your life. It will. After the first 1 or 2 years, you'll look back and you'll think like how far you've come as a person and stuff. Like life experiences. Honestly, mate, it will set you up for life.
When did things start to turn? When did your focus start to turn back to football?
I was on a scholarship at uni with lads in a similar position to myself, being released from clubs, joining a scholarship at university to do the academics. So it was basically a group of lads that were all in the same situation as myself. So I wasn't being thrown into something that I thought I was going to be thrown into, where I didn't know anyone, or I was going to have to be in an unknown situation where I wouldn't know anyone else's background and stuff. But we were all in the same position, so we all wanted to rekindle our love for football. We all wanted to work hard. We all wanted to enjoy the social events together as well as a team, and all of that gave us such a good bond on the pitch, and it made everyone else better. And I think during that period at university, that made me love football again. And that's probably when I was playing my best football. I was like 21, I think, when my coach at the time used to have connections with Gateshead, and he come up to me one time. This was actually just as I graduated. He was like, Luke, the manager at Gateshead wants to give you a week trial. And I was like, right, this is like news to me. Like, I've just been going through university. I've just enjoying my time there. I just graduated. I was literally in IB for when he called me saying, Luke, like, he wants you to do a week with Gateshead when you're back. And I'm like, I'm in IB for. And he goes, yeah, but mate, like you're on trial with Gateshead 2 days when you get home. And I was like, oh shit! Like I started doing runs on the beach and stuff. Like
during your holiday.
No, I had a sangria in one hand. I was thinking, nah, this has killed me. But I started doing runs on the beach. I was like to my boys over there. I was like, I've got a trial with Gateshead. They were like, nah, you haven't. I was like, yeah, honestly, I have. So it was a massive surprise to me, because I thought I was just finished, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like I enjoyed my time there. That was just another chapter done. I had a few things lined up after university that I was going to use my degree for and go down that route. But yeah, it came out of nowhere. And then 2 days after landing at in Newcastle, I'm out on trial with Gateshead, who were in the National League at the time, like a fully professional club. And I was 22 then, I think. Yeah, gone 20, just turned 22. Training again full time on trial. It was mad. It was a surreal experience, to be fair.
So how did like Gateshead go? You said was you there for a week and then got signed, or what? I saw you.
Yeah, it was pretty.
South Shields or something as well, on a dual reg or something like
that.
Yeah.
It was strange, because I was going into it probably not having any experience in professional football. They're just thinking, oh, who's this guy? Like, he's come from university, he's done well and stuff. So I thought, like, I'm a bit nervous, but I've just come from enjoying my life for 3 years, enjoying my football. Like, why should that stop now? Like, I'm at an age now where I can deal with bad situations better than what I could at 18 years old. Like, I was more confident as a person. So basically started with a week's trial, That then got extended to a 6-week trial, and then that got extended onto a dual registration. Basically, not a full contract, but it was enabling me to play for Gateshead and South Shields at the same time, so that I was getting game time. But I was only at South Shields for 4 games before the gaffer at Gateshead recalled me, and then basically finished the whole of the season with Gateshead.
I didn't understand it because it was like the same season. So I guess what, you played like 4 games and they literally like just got you in and you played the rest of the season.
Yeah, so I played 4 games for them, scored 1 goal, couple of assists. Or I did quite well. At that time, South Shields were coming up through the leagues with a lot of money and had like Julio Arca playing for them and everything. They had like nearly 2,000 fans through the gate.
Right.
And this was at like, right, it would have been like, even on the Evo 1. So what step would that be? I don't know, like equivalent to like Regions Prem or Fellow Prem, I think, at that time. So it was crazy, mate. They were just coming up through the leagues because someone had put a lot of money into the club, and they're still doing really well now. But yeah, played 4 games for them, then got recalled, signed my professional contract when I got recalled on an 18-month deal, and then played every game from, I think it was like just after January. No, it was, just after Christmas. Played every game from then until the end of the season.
Yeah.
With Gateshead.
Yeah. You said about like in that moment when you went into Gateshead that you basically had felt like you were like ready for it. Was that just because of what you had experienced in the past? Had that just equipped you for that moment that, I know you're saying you weren't really taking football seriously in terms of like, right, I'm getting back to the top, I'm getting back there. But did what you'd gone through and then setbacks you'd faced, did they set you up for that moment when you walked through the door at Gateshead where you felt, right, this is almost a free hit?
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly that. I felt like I had nothing to lose. Like, they didn't know me. Like, they didn't know anything about me. Like, they didn't know me as a footballer, as a person. I've got nothing to lose. I'm old enough now at the age where, to be honest, if I don't get anything, like, I've tried my hardest. But I was at the age where I could deal with rejection. So if you'd have done that at like 18, you saw how unstable I was and not able to deal with them situations. But I've just spent 3 years at university doing things out of my comfort zone. I was standing up in front of like 200 people doing presentations, reading off like not even a sheet, remembering it all. Like that, them 3 years set me up for that opportunity to go into that football club and give it one last try. And I was carrying no pressure on my shoulders. I was probably the most confident I've ever been. And I still say it today, if I wouldn't have gone to university, I would never be in a position I am now. So if I wouldn't have gone out of my comfort zone to take the opportunity to go to university, I wouldn't have ever been a professional footballer, because I'd have never got seen by Gateshead. I'd have never been seen at university. So if you don't take opportunities in life which you are uncomfortable to you at that time, you never know what's down the end of the road. Do you know what I mean? Like, I could still be working in Tesco's. That's no disrespect to anyone that does that for their job at the moment. But if I wouldn't have stepped outside of my comfort zone at that age, where I'd been through a lot of rejection and stuck in like a vicious circle, wasn't able to hit a full potential of being confident and whatnot, I would have never been in this situation now. So
yeah,
it's actually like talking about it now actually makes me feel a bit mad, though. Like, thinking that I've actually been on a bit of a roller coaster, to be fair, to get where I am.
That's the thing. You probably don't actually realise it now. Like, you wake up and like professional football, you go in every day and just play football. But like, what's actually got you to that point? I don't know. I just think it's one of them things that you kind of just forget about. You're just in the moment, just playing football, like just want to do the best every day. But when you actually look back, like what you've actually come through is mad. Like I said, it inspires me to be able to go on and try and get back to the top. But then, so yeah, you're playing well at Gateshead, scoring some goals. You're obviously getting yourself noticed. Then you hear what Port Vale are coming in for you, or Port Vale or a couple of teams have been looking at you. And then how did that kind of come about?
So basically, after the recall from South Shields, that season finished. Came back for that new season, started every game up until he left, was playing really well, assisting and scoring a few goals, was really enjoying my football. And then obviously he got the job to Port Vale, which was a massive move for himself. And he was actually a former Port Vale legend. So it was an ideal move for him. And one of the last things he said to me before he left was like, keep your phone on, son, because I'll be in contact. And I didn't really register what that meant at the time. I just thought he was going to speak to me, see how I do with my career and stuff. And I didn't really think anything of it. And I played 3 or 4 games without him. No, sorry, that's a lie. About 1 or 2 months without him. New manager came in, and then they obviously got to the January transfer window, and he'd been in contact with me again, saying, "Look, we're really serious about bringing you over to Port Vale." And I was like, "This is mad! Like, I've just signed for Gateshead, having a really good season. Now I'm getting asked to go over to Port Vale, like one of the biggest teams in League Two, massive stadium, massive history about the club, like some big players in that team as well." I'm thinking, this is mad. Like, I'm getting an opportunity now probably to go and play League Two football and professional league, which is where I've always wanted to be. So I was like quite overwhelmed to hear that. And I had a few other teams at that time sniffing about in the same league as me, wanting to go and sign. But this is another thing some people don't know as well. I had a problem with my agent, which nearly ruined the whole deal for me. Like, I was using this man as my agent and being recommended by a friend, and he was doing all the talking on my behalf. But the manager obviously knew me as a person and knew me as a player and wanted to speak to me, didn't want to use him. So I was in a situation again where I hadn't had an agent before. Like, I didn't know what was going on. Like, I've never had one. I didn't know what the duty of an agent was really. So I was just back and forth in between this, and then they were saying they're going to pull the plug on the deal, and I was like, oh my god, like, started proper really panicking and worrying myself, thinking this is a massive opportunity now. I've just ruined everything by using this agent. So in the end, we play a game in Boreham Wood. I travel back up from London all the way to Gateshead, and I leave in the morning Gateshead and just go sign for Port Vale without telling anyone apart from the manager. Just got in my car and drove down, didn't tell anyone. Next day, I'm in training with Port Vale. And I went behind my agent's back and basically done the deal without him, but I ended up getting him like off a contract with him. But yeah, like, that was just another situation that I hadn't planned, but that's how it went through.
Gotta do what you gotta do sometimes, I guess.
Exactly.
And
then again, I wouldn't have been that ruthless or had that confidence about me to think, do you know what? Like, no one's standing in the way of me progressing as a player now. This opportunity is granted, giving me an opportunity to go and play professional football for Port Vale. Like, no one's going to stop me doing it. I don't care who I piss off doing it. Like, I'm confident enough now to deal with confrontation of people that don't agree with me. Like, I'm going to do what I want to do. Do you know what I mean? And I wouldn't have had that about me unless I'd have gone through all that years at university, because I wouldn't have been that confident person.
But then you're playing well at Port Vale. What was that, your second year into your contract there? A new manager comes in?
Yes, so I was signed on a 18-month deal.
Yeah.
In my second season there, halfway through, like you say, new manager comes in, and I'm thinking, like, oh shit, like, this guy has just been sacked, who brought me over here and played me every single game because he knew my ability and my attributes, and he knew what was going to get from me every week. But now you've got a new man coming in who might not take a favour to you, and you know how it is. Like, managers come in and you might be the best player for one manager, but another manager comes in and thinks, do you know what, I'm going to play him over you just out of preference, just because he wants that player to play. He's the manager, so yeah, exactly. And it was just quite a worrying period for me. I was thinking, oh, new manager's coming in, like, has he been watching the games, blah blah blah. So it was just another period of uncertainty, of not knowing whether you're going to be playing or not. But luckily enough, he obviously saw enough in me to keep playing me through that season, and I ended up playing like 50 games that year, the most appearances I've ever made in one season. So it was quite a successful season for me. That.
Yeah, yeah, I read that. I read that was like you played loads of games that season. But then when did you receive the news that you wouldn't be getting a new contract?
This is another situation which is pretty mad, to be fair. Like, so basically, I was speaking with Cambridge United as soon as the season finished. I hadn't heard anything from Port Vale. Well, that's a lie. I heard it from like the old manager who got sacked, who wanted to sign me, that give me a new deal just before he got sacked. So then he got sacked, and I'm thinking, do I really want to sign a new deal with this manager, like coming in and not really knowing me? So I held off. Got to like 50 appearances, thinking, that's surely a new deal. Like, no one plays 50 games without getting a new deal somewhere. And then hadn't heard anything till the end of the season, thinking like, oh right, this is a bit weird. Like, started to panic a little bit and think, I could be out of the like job here again. Could be in the same situation I was, have been another rejection. But luckily, I played against Cambridge in that season, done really well, and had obviously Matt and Bonds still there from when I was a youth team player. So I knew them really well, and they persuaded me to come back over to Cambridge. And I think one of the main reasons was to be closer to home as well, because it's the first time since going to university where I was able to go home and see my family a lot more, with it be only really like an hour and a bit down the road. So,
Yeah.
but then obviously I got released via Twitter. So
Not on the retain and release list.
Yeah, mate, retain and release list. I was on the release list on Twitter, and the manager didn't even speak to me. Like, didn't bother to call me or anything. I think he left a voicemail. I tried to call him back, didn't answer. So I just felt like he was being a bit disrespectful. And luckily, I'd already signed my contract or agreed terms with Cambridge United, so I knew that I was going to another club straight away.
Yeah.
But I just felt like,
still disrespect, isn't it? Really,
100% disrespectful. And I just thought, like, in this game, I've come in late. I'm just going to try and be as respectful and honest to as many people as I can. I don't want to make enemies. I'm here to have fun, enjoy myself, and try and excel in my career. And I just felt like I'd worked hard for him when he came in, and he just done me a bit dirty like that, put me on the release list via Twitter. And I just felt a bit embarrassed, because people see that and think, like, Luke Hannant's getting released on Twitter. And I was telling my mates, like, no, I've not heard anything. And like, I laughed it off in the end, because I just thought, do you know what? Like, I'm not going to let this guy affect me. Like, I lost a bit of respect for him, but do you know what? I've worked hard enough, and I know my values, and I was good enough to get another club without his help. And like, that was just a situation where I was able to laugh it off. Like, I was that confident person at that time, and probably still am now, where I just think, like, I just back myself. Like, yeah. I know I keep going back to saying I was probably immature and stuff. Then I went to university and I matured as a person and grew in confidence and strength and as a person. But that's that person I am today. Like, I'm not afraid to be myself around anyone. You either like it or you don't.
Yeah. When you was going back to Cambridge, how did you find that period? Like, you've been there as a youth lad, and then you're going back there. I mean, that must be mentally a bit tough. You surely did you have a point to prove to yourself, or a point to prove to Port Vale? Like, what were you thinking?
I think I had a point to prove to a few people. Myself, Port Vale, my friends that lived around here with me when I was actually at Cambridge at the time I got released, and then people at Cambridge United. That was probably the biggest person or team that I wanted to impress and prove wrong, because that in hindsight, they were the team that let me go. They were the team that stopped me from being a professional footballer, as well as myself. But they were the team that didn't give me the professional contract. So in my head, I was thinking, I'm going to this club now, returning with a different mindset, a different confidence level, and I'm ready to prove so many people wrong. But at the same time, I was also nervous about the situation, because what about if I go there and I don't do well, then they can then say that, oh look, we've brought this player back who got released, who's now not very good at football, blah blah blah. But I had that mindset of just going there and being confident and not letting the worries of being nervous affect that.
Yeah. Your confidence seems to have like taken you through from that period after university. That just seems to be the thing that just come out. Like when you go into Gateshead, when you're dealing with an agent, when you're going back to Cambridge, when you're at Port Vale, like your confidence just seemed to like take off.
Before university, I haven't had to deal with any situations other than being a footballer. Like I just got up, trained, came home, got up, trained, came home. Like I didn't know anything other than football. Like it's pretty scary because I was almost like a bloody robot. Like I didn't know anything else other than being a footballer and live that lifestyle. But then I took myself away from that, put myself into a situation which I've never experienced before, and all these other gateways opened for me because I took a risk and a chance, and I wanted to better myself as a person on and off the field. And I think that confidence all stems from that decision to go to university and everything that I've learned over them 3 years. Like there's things in them 3 years that I'd never done before that I would have never probably thought to do because I wouldn't have been confident enough to do it. Like I was, like I say, doing presentations or doing work experience within like massive groups of children to do coaching, having to stand up and read things and memorize things without a piece of paper, or all these things that I learned along the way helped me get to where I am. My confidence levels now, like it was pretty crazy, to be fair. And I never saw myself being in that situation or saw myself being that academic person before all of that. But now looking back, it was definitely the best decision of my life to do that.
Yeah. What process do you take now when you face adversity? How do you deal with the little?
So in regards to knowing that I had a year on my contract when I got injured.
Yeah, just how do you deal with them setbacks that you face now, whether it's an injury,
Okay, yeah.
whatever it might be.
Yeah, so obviously my injury was quite a bad one. End of January, ruptured 2 of the 3 ligaments in my ankle, and I've never had an injury ever in my life. Like, I've never missed football through an injury, and even gathering all that confidence and all them life experiences before this, like nothing trained me for being injured in a situation, and nothing, like I'd never had an experience before that to know how to deal with it. And I think it made, like, matters were made worse by obviously being in a lockdown and everything that's going on around the world at the minute. Probably made that a little bit harder for me because I wasn't able to get in to see Mikey, wasn't able to see the doctors, was doing all my rehab via Zoom calls and video calls with the physio. I wasn't able to be around the lads and have the banter that you get on a day-to-day basis, which will help your moods if you're down and you're having a bad day. I didn't have any of that. I was just in my house in lockdown. Just basically, there was definitely bad days when I was injured. Like I used to lay there in bed and just think, like, I was Googling things and stressing myself out and over worrying and thinking, like, is my ankle ever going to be the same? Am I ever going to play football again? Like, does this injury stop your career? I was like Googling mad things like that and reading into it all. And I was thinking, like what am I doing? Like, I'm stressed. Yeah, I'm driving myself insane. I'm getting stressed out. Like, I'm not sleeping. Like, because I've never been in that situation before, I didn't know how to deal with it. And if matters were different and I was able to go in, maybe I'd have been looked after a bit better and it would have been easier for me. But that situation was really hard and really stressful. And I did struggle a little bit with that. And then I thought to myself, like, don't be down. Like, I was doing a few interviews at the time and stuff, asking me about my injury and stuff. And I was saying, like, how well I've actually come out of it and stuff, because I was able to use all the negatives and the worries and use the situation of uncertainty into my favour and take it as a positive. And I was able to come out of that. And now I look back at it, I think yeah, it was hard for me, and I did go through some bad times, and I was struggling a lot, and it was affecting me. But now I look back and I just think, if that situation happens again now, I'm equipped to know how to deal with it, and I know that I'll be all right moving forward because I've been in that situation before, which is, you can use it in any aspect in life. If you've gone through a situation, or you're going through a situation that you've never been through before, you're obviously going to have serious doubts or worries, and it's going to put a lot of pressure on your mental health when you don't know how to deal with it. But then once you've come out of it, you can then look back and you think, actually, I've actually done all right with myself. That I've come out probably a stronger person, and you can then pick on points of see what you would do different and what you wouldn't, and then you can move forward as a more confident, better person. So I think it's helped me in a way, because it's gave me another life situation where I've been able to deal with it and know that I'll come out all right. And it's probably made me a bit more open to life and not see it so seriously, because like that injury could have finished my career, but I was okay. Like, it wasn't the end of the world. Like, I didn't put so much pressure on myself to know that football was life, because I've been out of football before, so I know that I was okay outside of football. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah, sure. Final question, which is kind of what the whole thing's about. What's adversity taught you?
Yeah, I think it's just being able to turn all the negatives into positive situations. Like, knowing that, I know I keep going back to it and stuff, but like I said, them 3 years were massive for me as a person, because I could have been in a really tough situation, and God knows where I'd have been mentally if I wouldn't have been able to go to university and gain all that life experiences, because I wouldn't know how I'd be able to deal with all the rejection in life and stuff, because I wasn't able to deal with that before then. So coming out of that, I think I'm a lot more confident, and definitely being able to turn all the negatives that come towards me in life now cut into positives, and know that I'll be all right getting through them situations because of everything I've learned before that.
Wow, what a brilliant and insightful conversation that was. I really hope you enjoyed it. A massive thank you to Luke for giving up his time to come on, and all the best for the rest of the season. Stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, stay well.